Well, I'm reading in my book in Dutch. So, and um, well, I'm going to read about Hans Christian Andersen, but maybe explain a bit. So, um, I have, well, um, first 6 chapters, and then on page 62, I have a chapter called Real Persons, and there I give a chronological order. Um, so starting with Homerus in 750 before Christ, and ending with Gorbachev in 1998 when the Iron Curtain was dropped and um, they started something new. So, and then at page 149, there is about books and films where, well, I give some more information. But yeah, maybe it's good to start with Hans Christian Andersen. So I'm gonna read it in Dutch and translate it immediately in English when I'm reading it. So I always start with giving the first name of the person, and it always ends with the last name of the person. So, and this person, I started it with 1838. So the previous person was Alexis de Tocqueville, and that was 1835. So now it's 1838. Hans Christian lived in poverty during his childhood, but he was allowed to go singing in a theater in Copenhagen. There, his talent as a poet was discovered by the director of the theater company, and he took care that Hans Christian was allowed to go to school to learn to properly write. Hans Christian refused sexual relationships with women, but multiple times he fell in love with unreachable women. And in 1838, he wrote a fairy tale about the tin soldier. Once upon a time, there was a metal caster who, well, um, who made 25 tin soldiers, but because um, he was out of metal, liquid metal, the last soldier only got one leg. But he fought courageously together with the older soldiers in the children's playroom, and he couldn't take off his eyes of a dancer on one leg on the entrance of the Carton Castle. He was so in love with her, but he was too shy to speak to her. A jealous magician took um, arranged that the tin soldier fell out of the window when there was a gust of wind, and in that way he ended up on the street. A few children placed him in a paper boat, and he floated away through the sewage pipes. And when the water became too wild, the boat sank. And just before the soldier reached the bottom of the canal, he was eaten by a fish, which was captured and prepared in the kitchen of the house where he came from. The kitchen maid found him and brought him back to the children's playroom, where he saw the dancer again, and again he couldn't take his eyes off her. But one of the children grabbed the soldier and threw him into the fireplace. When he was melting there, and just before he had given up all hope of seeing the danceress ever again, there was again a burst of wind, which this time took up the danceress and made sure she ended up also in the fireplace. When the next day the kitchen maid was cleaning the fireplace, and by removing the ashes, she found the heart of the soldier together with the rows of silver paper of the skirt of the danceress. In 1843, Hans wrote a story, a fairy tale about a nightingale when he was in love with an opera singer. In total, he wrote more than 3,000 stories for theaters, poems, novels, but especially his fairy tales made him very famous. They have been translated in more than 100 languages. The Ugly Duck, The Little Sea Mermaid, The Princess and the Pea, The Clothes of the Emperor, they all come from his fantasy. His name was Andersen. You see, yeah, um, that's the text I wrote last weekend. Maybe, well, I don't think there is any spelling errors, but yeah, I should read it again before, giving it to, people who might be interested in reading it. This afternoon, I have a viewing with a tenant. Well, not a viewing. She's giving back the keys. She had some, consulting for if your marriage is something in a problem or something. And but yeah, it seems she has not enough. Well, she don't need with Corona this office anymore, so she's giving back the keys. I allow them to cancel in 1 month, and so yeah. And I think I'm gonna give her this book, and then she can also read it. So, but yeah, this morning, I collected my books. I'm gonna read a little bit more. Well, when I will get home, and first maybe buy some bread and have lunch at home, and then 2 p.m. go see the tenant, and then I will go to a vegetarian shop and support them during Corona times, because tonight they have not the possibility to open the restaurant. So I will do some takeout there for dinner for me, for my father, my sister. Um, and so, yeah, but this book, well, I will read it. I have 2 copies. Um, and yeah, it is, so, yeah. I was so amazed last weekend to see Hans Christian being so in love. Yeah, and well, it were impossible loves. Well, um, I really feel, yeah, it's good to be passionate about love, and to well, but yeah, I mean, if it ends up never being mutual, that's a problem. But the whole thing is, if you give it up, and you start over, um, yeah, it's difficult to love a person. You can't do that 1,000 times in a lifetime. You can have 1,000 tenants and be friendly with them, but you cannot have 1,000 loved ones. So I live with yeah, my family almost 50 years. So well, not 50, but a few weeks ago, I think my parents met 50 years ago. So yeah, but well, I think next year they're gonna be married 50 years. Yeah, I mean, then it's so good. Yeah, so many people did that in the past. Sometimes it was real. Sometimes, well, they stayed officially together. But yeah, I really, the whole book is about empathy, about people. Yeah, I think, yeah, we see ourselves as individuals because, yeah, for it's explained in the book. When you see our whole history, we don't want collectivism like Stalin and Hitler and all those totalitarian regimes. We don't like them. So, but on the other hand, um, we have so much empathy for each other. We, we we can't exist alone. We always interact, and we just need other people, and that's what we live for. You can think, okay, it's God. Okay, that is also a possibility if there is really no one else. But yeah, I mean, as long as there are humans around, and yeah, I think it's good to to love them. And well, um, and even it's not to that level. Well, to to have a good normal relationship with any person, if it's work or tenant or whatever in life, to have good relationships. Yeah, it's good to teams, we call it in business, but yeah, I mean, even in family you can be a team. So yeah, and trust and well, well, one of the things I might try to discover more is but then the book is going to be too long, huh? I think a French philosopher, he wrote Emile, and it's about children, and to give that innocence and liberalism to society. But last night I have been thinking, a few days ago I saw a documentary about Mozart, and it seems he wanted to have fun, to play music in a more uh, exciting way. Well, it wasn't Michael Jackson yet, but the music before Mozart was dull. It was more like church music, but not gospel. More like well, clavecembal on balls in Versailles. They were, well, it's some kind of piano, but it's monotonous. And then, of course, the Georgian singing and the the Blech organ, the blowing pipes in the churches. That kind of music, it's not really fun and exciting. And Mozart, on the contrary, well, he gives that excitement we have today in music. And so, well, he started. It is not yet in the book I just mentioned, Mozart, but I see that in a wider um, tendency to stop thinking about that infinity and God and moral obligations, and to allow your senses, like David Hume said, um, experience feelings, and well, people let that in with music, and it is probably around 70 something, and then you get Mozart and all these things, and Immanuel Kant, they start doubting about the proofs of God of Aristotle, and so on. And then you end up with Freud and people having mixed up their feelings. And now it's time, it's 15 minutes.